Hello, everyone. My name's Matt Nicoletti. Joining me today is Tigers FC coach Ryan Grogan in anticipation for their FFA Cup qualifying final against Monaro Panthers this Saturday, 5 p.m. at Deakin Stadium, also live on Bar TV Sport as well. Ryan, thank you for joining me today. And how are you going?
Appreciate you having me, mate. Yeah, doing well. Obviously excited about the game on the weekend. So, yeah, just in the preparation phase.
That's it. And to get to this point, you had a pretty close matchup in the semi-final against NPL2 side Ugali 1-0, who, safe to say, stepped up for the occasion. What did you make of how the match played out?
Yeah, look, from a neutral point of view, I suppose it was very exciting. But from my point of view and Ant's point of view on the sideline is obviously we could have done without as much stress. But fair play to Ugali, you know what I mean? With all the footage that we watched of them and some of the things that we expected from them, I think they exceeded expectations in the way they performed that night, and they really brought it to us.
And your cup run into the final also included victories against Gungahlin United 3-0 and Western Molonglo 6-0. What did you make of these performances?
Yeah, look, the game at the beginning against Gungahlin, which was the first competitive fixture of the year, obviously that was played before round one in the NPL. Obviously, we were quite happy with the performance and the result. Particularly having to draw such a quality side and come up against such obviously a quality coach in Muzza for our first game. We were happy to get through it the way that we did, and we sort of use that as a bit of a springboard moving forward through the cup.
And your performance against Gungahlin, in my opinion, was one of the strongest I've seen your team until the most recent couple of rounds. And even your match against Western, you guys straight after that one sort of catapulted you to quite a few big victories in terms of scoreline. Did you guys sort of use these strong performances in the cup to catapult you guys in the league?
Yeah, so coming into that game against Western, so we come off the two draws against Tuggeranong and then Belconnen in the NPL. Obviously, off the back of the Tuggeranong result, we were disappointed to give up a 2-goal lead twice in the game to drop points there. But particularly after the Belconnen game, so I know that to the neutrals, obviously we pulled 2 goals back late in that game, with Belko also coming off their big 2-hour game midweek against Croatia that week. But we, from our point of view, we looked at ourselves without that performance and we weren't happy in any way, shape or form how we performed that day. So we sort out of a bit of a chat internally about what needed to change in terms of the little 1%ers, in terms of our preparation. And then obviously Western were the first ones to face us after that Belconnen game. We put a few different things in place in that game, which obviously we got success with, and we ran with that moving forward into the Olympic game and then the West Canberra Wanderers game. And I think through those 3 games in particular, how clinical we were in the final third allowed us to obviously put ourselves in comfortable positions in those games.
And all these matches, of course, lead you up to this weekend against Monaro Panthers. The last time you guys faced each other in the league a couple of weeks ago, you guys came out 3-1 victors. How will you be preparing for this match in specifically? Because as we all know, cup finals, whatever sort of form, sometimes goes out the window.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? So as much as the result the other week gives us a bit of confidence coming into the final against this opposition, at the same time, I don't believe it really means much coming into this game because, as you just alluded to, the cup brings out something else. I mean, it's a little bit different to the week-to-week grind of the NPL, particularly with the prize that's on offer with victory this weekend. I don't think the performance of our side 2 weeks ago, the performance of Monaro's side 2 weeks ago, is all that big of an indicator of just how this game will play out on Saturday night.
And some of the Tigers squad have been in this position before, making the FFA Cup in 2019, the round of 32. This is your first time in this position to qualify for that competition and some of the players as well. What's the feeling like around the squad at the moment heading into the weekend?
Yeah, look, everyone's really excited about the game. So obviously, and I'm sure we're not alone in this, that through our preseason, you sort of have a look at the season. Okay, this season was always going to be different, particularly to the COVID season last year, but also the length of the season this year was something that had to be taken into account with the 21 rounds. So then how do we achieve our objectives, which is obviously for us, and I'm assuming everybody else, if we want to win the cup, we want to be successful in the league and take down the league if we can. So then how do we manage ourselves coming into it? So I think, particularly over the last couple of weeks, I think across the competition, you can see there's a few little niggles and bits and pieces popping up with injuries. Ourselves are not exempt from that. We've had a few little bit of knocks and that over the last few weeks, which led into the Croatia game on the weekend, where we've sort of had to keep one eye on this weekend and make some decisions. But we're in a position now where we've got the whole squad available. Everyone's raring to go. And regardless if they got experience in the final or not, everyone's just amped and ready to go.
And it's still early days in the league, but what do you make of your side's progress in the league so far? Despite the defeat against Camp Croatia, like you mentioned this weekend, you guys have been finding your feet recently over the last month or so.
Yeah, so last year's preseason, obviously, I've heard you guys say it a number of times on the show that we got our transfer business done quite early. Since I came back from Sydney, I've been fortunate enough, and the reason why I came to Tigers is that I'm fortunate enough to work with people at this club who allow me to do what I want to do. And going into the transfer window last year, and you can see Frank's done it with Monaro as well, you tend to go after players that you've worked with before. So a number of the signings that we brought in are boys that I've worked with before at Canberra United and these sorts of things. So in building the culture that we wanted to get it done early. And we started our preseason early to make sure that although for a few years some of these boys hadn't necessarily played together, like you've got Griffo and Joshy and that over at Gungahlin, by bringing Popper in, bringing Sparrow in, obviously without his injury, and Jay Kelly, we wanted to give him enough time to gel. Our preseason form was decent, obviously, but you can't compare preseason form into in-season form. So obviously Croatia touched us up in round one. I think we bounced back pretty well against Gungahlin. We were playing some good football in that game. And we had those two disappointing results from our point of view against Tuggeranong and Belconnen. But I think the culture within the club and now the familiarity of the boys are getting time playing together, it's starting to reap rewards. So although, again, Croatia knocked us over on the weekend, I think our performance last week compared to our performance against them in round one is chalk and cheese. And you can see just how happy the boys are playing together. And I think that's the big key in being successful.
And what do you make of how competitive the league is this season? Because it's very close at the moment. And even the teams near the bottom, they only need a couple of victories and they're straight back at it. So it's a very close league this season. What do you make of that?
Again, from a neutral point of view, so when I don't have my Tigers hat on and I sit back and I watch the games, it's fantastic. You know what I mean? I see you guys have your own little tipping comp between yourselves.
Not very successful, my dad.
Yeah, well, that's it. So we've got our own tipping comp within the team as well. And we're struggling just as much as you guys are in trying to pick the results. I think the only guarantee at this point in time is Tigers getting a draw. But from a coaching point of view, you know what I mean? It's tough because there are variances in teams' performances week to week. I think all of us at times are struggling with consistency. But the beauty of it is that every game that we go into, we know that the opposition are beatable. And I'm sure that every opposition coming into the game as well know that everyone else is beatable. So it's a bit of a washing machine. But again, I love it and I love to be a part of it. So it's good fun.
And once again, the final this weekend, Tigers FC versus Monaro Panthers this Saturday, 5 p.m. from Deakin Stadium, also live on Bar TV Sport. Russ Gibbs and Steve Forshaw with that one. Ryan, do you have anything to say to the Tigers FC fans and sponsors and the community heading into the matchup this weekend?
Yeah, cancel whatever plans you've got Saturday night and get down to Deakin Stadium. Obviously, the Monaro side are a very good footballing side. They've got a very good coach. And we're looking forward to a cracker of a game.